Would you rather, the question is, would you rather get free plane tickets or free accommodations for the rest of your life? I don't know who is comfortable to go off mute and just answer. Um, also, I'll suggest for you. I have all the names on my screen, so I can just speak. Would you rather get free plane tickets or free accommodations for the rest of your life? Mm, where is Angela? Angela,
Well, for me, I'm choosing the both of them because if I have free plane tickets, where would I be? And okay, I'm flying around the world definitely. But where am I going to stay on the plane? So I choose the
you
both
stay
of
on.
them.
All right, Angie chooses them. Sam says plane tickets. I'll try to stay with friends. Okay, then he said free tickets and accommodation. You want what? Like Angie. What else wants to answer the question? What could you choose? Free tickets or free accommodation? Let's see. If Amy says free plane ticket daily, I guess. Okay, okay, you like traveling a lot. What else? Free accommodation for Anna. You don't want to travel, you just want to stay. Okay. Um, who else? Feel free to go off mute. Oh, somebody was bored. Angie, this is your team. Olamide said, oh, you want. I need someone to mute and say something. Seni says free accommodation. Kamala free accommodation. Okay, okay. What else? Hey, Amo, want to go off mute? Who could say they'll choose free plane tickets? You're on my team. Uh, anyone else? Free tickets or free accommodations for the rest of your life? For the rest of your life. Could you choose? Anyone likes traveling? Anyone? Just a minute. Ralph says free flights somewhere in the morning, in the day there, and then fly home in the evening. Okay, interesting. Theo says free plane fly the world in the store. Yay! On my team, Theo. Great, great. Anyone else want to respond to the question before we start? We have a minute. What else? Okay, great. So much everyone for responding to our question. If at any point you feel like you've decided your answer, you can come. Okay, Amo has decided to text free plane ticket. You're on my team, Amo. We got the world. Thank you so much. Thank you for answering the question. So welcome everyone to our webinar on HOT and OISM insights. We are going to have presentations from various people. We're going to have a presentation from the VCSP team. We're going to have presentations from the HOT team. We're going to also have a hands-on demonstration from the HOT team. We're going to have use cases that are going to be shared by people who have used this data in real-life situations. And this is our program for today. So to kick us off, I'll introduce to you one of our colleagues, who is Angela, who is going to walk us through a presentation on the VCSP. Our other core team lead is David. He is He said he's on the run. I don't know. He's he's in transit, so you will not be able to speak. But Angela will talk to us about the VCSP, and then we'll proceed from there. So Angie, over to you. Angela,
Hi,
if you're
Letwin.
speaking,
Can
you're
you
on
hear me?
mute. Yeah, we can hear you. Yes, Angie.
Hello, Letwin. Can you hear me now? All right. Thank you. So, hello everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. So, as Letwin had mentioned, I will go ahead to share my screen. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
You're on mute, Angie. You are still on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes,
I was saying, please let me know when you can see my screen.
we could see your screen, but you're on mute.
Ah, okay. So I'm working on it now. It's coming in. Just let me know when you can see this. Apologies. Sorry, it's been a few minutes. So I'll start from the beginning now. Um, yes. So good morning. Good morning again, everyone. Good morning. So today, yeah, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Mamuyurianyakara, and I'm the Vice Chair Technical for the FIG Young Surveyors Network and also the co-leader of the Volunteer Surveyors Community Program under the FIG Young Surveyors Network. So today I'm thrilled to be here to share insights on how the VCSP, the FIG, as well as HOT, as well as OSM align in advancing geospatial development and humanitarian mapping. So throughout the sessions, rather this particular session that I will be taking, we'll explore who we are, what we do, and how young surveyors can contribute to impactful projects worldwide. So let me, can you confirm if you can hear me and see my screen? All right. All right
I can
then.
hear you. I can see your screen. Maybe just try to put it on presentation mode.
Okay, sorry, I didn't get you.
Is it possible to have it on presentation mode?
Oh, okay,
Make
yes,
it a
I
bit.
can do that. Let me do that. Right then. Sorry. Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, great.
All right. Okay. So who are we? That's who is the FIG Young Surveyor Network. Well, we are the International Federation of Surveyors, which is a global organization that is dedicated to supporting the young surveying profession. So it basically brings together professionalism and academics. That's for the main FIG. Then this body has a young surveyors network, which is the FIG Young Surveyors Network that aims to shape the future of geospatial sciences. So within the FIG, we have the Young Surveyors Network, which focuses on empowering the next generation of surveyors through education, networking, and volunteer opportunities. Now, one of the YSN flagship is the initiative, which is the VCSP, which is designed to create real-world impact through geospatial volunteerism, such as partnership with UN Habitat as well as GLTN, also helps in bringing some of our initiatives to life. So our cooperation with these bodies continue to amplify the voice of young surveyors through tutoring that the future of our planet as well as mapping our world a better place. Now, for the common future, which lies in the hands of our generation as we volunteer. Okay, so what do we do? That's what does the FIG Young Surveyor Network do? The FIG Young Surveyors Network is an active platform for young professionals to engage in global surveying and geospatial discussions. So we basically provide capacity building programs, mentorship, and professional networks. Sorry for the noise at the background. So mentorship and professional network opportunities to support career and growth. So our work extends beyond professional development. We actively contribute to land governance, climate resilience, and humanitarian efforts through through projects from our e-volunteering aspects to different initiatives. So I will just run us through our vision. I'll just run us through our vision and what we hope to aspire basically. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Please, can you see my screen as well? I'm sorry, I'm having a
Yes.
lot of network difficulty. Oh, yes. So the vision of the FIG Young Surveyors will begin to inspire, that is, support and collaborate with platforms such as the one that we're doing currently with OSM, and also nurture our existing and growing partnership to strengthen, promote, innovate, and also raise awareness about the FIG and the FIG Young Surveyors initiatives. Then one key thing that we'll also be doing is one key thing that we'll also be talking about is who is a young surveyor. A young surveyor, as defined by the FIG, is any professional or students in the surveying and geospatial field under the age of 35 or within 10 years of graduation. Now, the young surveyor brings fresh perspectives, innovative ideas, and digital skills that are crucial for modern geospatial applications. Now, the YSN ensures that young professionals have a voice in global discussions to access the opportunities that shape our careers. Now, we have regions um, cut across cut across globally. As you can see, the FIG Young Service Network is an international organization of global communities where we have regional representatives from the American network to Asia and Pacific to FIG African network to South America and the likes like that. So it's a global initiative. So under all of these initiatives now, we then have the VCSP, which is an outreach program from the FIG Young Civils Network. So I'll be discussing a few things of what the VCSP has achieved and what the VCSP does basically. Now, the VCSP is an initiative under the FIG Young Civil Network that leverages volunteerism to provide surveying and geospatial support for humanitarian development. Now, one of our mission is basically or the mission of the VCSP rather, is created to bridge the gap between professional expertise and community need, thereby providing young surveyors who are skilled with humanitarian services to community and to help them with their skills to provide impact for that specific community. Now, our mission includes four key objectives, which is supporting vulnerable communities by providing accurate geospatial data, also strengthening the role of young surveyors in international initiatives, offering field experiences and enhanced professional growth, building strategic partnerships with organizations such as UN Habitat and also local governments to amplify our impacts. Now, the VCSP empowers young surveyors to use their skills for meaningful change, particularly in disaster response and land governance. Now, some of the synergies between FIG, YSN, the VCSP, and humanitarian ultimate is basically to see that there is a strong alignment between what the VCSP does and humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. Now, both initiatives leverage geospatial technology for humanitarian response and sustainable development. Through humanitarian open team, young surveyors can actively contribute to open mapping, providing critical disaster for resilience management and infrastructural planning, and also community resilience. So by collaborating, that is what this platform, or rather this webinar, is aimed to achieve. Participants can gain hands-on experience in digital mapping, crowdsourcing, geospatial data, and supporting humanitarian efforts worldwide. Okay, so why should young surveyors get involved in HOT or OSM? The benefits are immense. First of all, it enhances your skill sets. You gain hands-on experience with OpenStreetMapping platforms, remote sensing, and data analysis. Secondly, it still helps us network, like Letwin had threw the question earlier on if you would want a free plane or you would want free accommodation. Me, I'm in between, by the way, but anyways. Now I've been able to meet a whole lot of people here on this call, meaning that it helps us have excellent networking participants globally. So you get to connect with like-minded people and organizations. The third thing is you make real-world impacts. Your contributions help communities affect disasters as climate change and also poor land governance. And finally, it opens doors for career growth. Many professionals and organizations recognize the value of geospatial volunteerism, and your experience with HOT and OSM can set you apart in job applications and also research opportunities. And I'm happy to say that we have some of these representatives and team on the call to discuss further on OpenStreetMap usages. Just a few things on our values as the VCSP, which is helping us to empower regional networks while providing constant expectations. So you have voluntarism, you have curiosity, you have respect and sustainability. So these are the core values that help us really achieve the things that we as a community hope to gain. Now, the VCSP is an holistic program with four departments that brings together different ways that volunteer community surveyors can make a difference for humanitarian and environmental causes. Now, these departments are the Wisdoms Workshop, the in-country deployments, e-volunteering, and the Knowledge Portal. Now, these are just some of the things that these different departments has been able to achieve. that we have the knowledge portal. In the knowledge portal, you can see that it's a whole library or that hosts key information on VCSP success stories as well as case studies. You can also see from the Wisdoms Workshop, which Letwin is currently sharing right now. You can see some of the MOOC classes that we've had in the past, some of the partnerships and engagements we've had for crowds to map. You can also see different workshops that the VCSP has been able to achieve over the years. And for our in-country deployment, we specifically send young surveyors, we call them volunteer community surveyors, to different regions to support humanitarian efforts, mostly on land administration. You can see all the yearly VCSs we've sent on ground to be able to assist community impact. And in total, we currently have about 40 to 43 VCSs that we've sent to various communities and also have impact in those communities. And last but not the least, which is our VCSP involunteering platform where we really encourage things or usages like OpenStreetMaps to be able to map out vulnerable communities. We just finished one program recently with Think OSM as well. That's sorry, Crowd to Map to be specific, and that ended up in a very huge success. It just talks about some of the impacts from both our VCSs as well as the communities that has been impacted. I won't go around discussing all of this in details, but these are just some of the key things that we do. So the next slide, we just talks about partnership and how the volunteer community surveyors dwell on partnership from various organizations, as mentioned earlier from our earlier discussions. So you can see we have different cadres of partners. We have our funding partner, we have our knowledge partner, we have opportunity partners, we have technology partners. So basically, with partnership and collaboration, we really strive to make the VCSP and its impacts and its to be felt basically. So in a nutshell, I just want to wrap up and encourage all of us to get involved in the FIGYSN and also the VCSP. So if you're interested in geospatial volunteerism, consider participating in HOT projects or VCSP or future initiatives. You can also visit our website at www.fig.net/VCSP for more details. And please feel free to reach out to me or Letwin or David or anyone on the team. So thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing all of you all actively engaged in global mapping. Thank you so much. Back to you, Letwin.
So much, Gigi. Thank you for the wonderful presentation about the young surveyors and the VCSP. I hope we've all learned what the VCSP and the FIG are and where we are coming from. So we are going to have our next presentation from Sam Colchester. Yes, over to you, Sam.
Awesome. Thanks, Levin. Yeah, welcome everyone. I'm Sam Colchester. I work for Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, also known as HOT. And I focus particularly on partnerships and training at HOT. And I work closely with a colleague of mine, Ralph, who's on the call as well. He's going to be showing you how to map in detail. But before we jump into that, I did want to give you a bit more context about Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, humanitarian mapping, and OpenStreetMap. So I'm going to take you through a couple slides, and I'll be sharing my screen, showing you some of the tools and processes involved before you dive into using them. OpenStreetMap. I'm sure a lot of you are already very familiar with OpenStreetMap, but for those who are not, OpenStreetMap, or OSM, is a free open map of the world. It's often described as the Wikipedia of maps, and that's actually quite a good description of OpenStreetMap, because like Wikipedia, anyone can edit OpenStreetMap. All you need to do to fix something in OpenStreetMap or add something to OpenStreetMap is to create an account using an email address. It's a public good, which means that the data that is stored on OpenStreetMap, or technically in OpenStreetMap's database, is free for anyone to use. So it does really support a huge ecosystem of freely available map-based applications. And of course, it's also a crucial part of the humanitarian sector's data as well. I would say particularly organizations like Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, Red Cross societies, Red Cross Nigeria, British Red Cross, American Red Cross, Canadian Red Cross, all of these organizations have OpenStreetMap as an integral piece of their operations. We're actually going to be working on a Médecins Sans Frontières project a bit later on, focusing on India. So you're going to have some hands-on experience with that. OpenStreetMap is also used by several for-profit organizations. So these are some of the most high-profile uses of OpenStreetMap. For example, Facebook use OpenStreetMap for their maps. If you go to Facebook Marketplace, you'll see a map showing you where you can buy things, and that map is based on OpenStreetMap. If you use a fitness app called Strava, mobile-based fitness app, you'll notice all of the data is also from OpenStreetMap. Many other places, many other sources that are using OpenStreetMap underlies a lot of applications. A key part of its value is that, as I said, anyone can add data to OpenStreetMap. The alternative data sources for map data don't have the same value. Those are typically driven by for-profit companies, and they look to improve their map data to support value in their organizations, which is largely for profit. So they look to improve their map in areas where it's going to be financially viable for them to do that. Okay. Whereas for OpenStreetMap, it's the people who decide, and for everyone to decide where to improve the map. Okay, so it's not based so much on financial drives or financial motives, but it's really driven by the motives of many different factors. It could be humanitarian, it could be just local mappers who are really enthusiastic about improving their neighborhood. It could be bicyclists who are very interested in improving the quality of the bike network in their neighborhood. Any of these reasons are good reasons to improve OpenStreetMap. So you can see that with diverse reasons to improve OpenStreetMap, you can end up with a much more complete, much more representative map of the world. The OpenStreetMap community is very large. Anyone can contribute to it. That means that there are many contributors. There's over 11 million contributors to OpenStreetMap. They're based all over the world. Lots of these people map for lots of different reasons, some of which I've already described. Some of the people who contribute to OpenStreetMap contribute primarily for humanitarian or development purposes. They're motivated to contribute for humanitarian purposes. So they might hear of an earthquake that struck a location, and they will work out how they can improve the map in that location to help the response there. The organization I work for, Humanitarian OpenStreetMap Team, HOT, focuses particularly on that sector of the OpenStreetMap community. So we are focused particularly on the humanitarian side of OpenStreetMap. And it's a subset of that community. There's a few 100,000 people out of those 11 million or so that you could call the kind of humanitarian contributors to OpenStreetMap. Our organization is global. We're a small organization, only about 70 people, but we are based all across the world. I'm based in Spain. but we have colleagues in all regions pretty much, and they are focused around what we call open mapping hubs. Okay. And we've got 4 open mapping hubs spread across the world. I mean, you can see them identified here. These are their priority geographies. Okay. Latin America, Caribbean, West North Africa, Eastern Southern Africa, and the Asia Pacific region. Each of those areas has dedicated staff that support the OpenStreetMap communities in those areas, inspire and mobilize the OpenStreetMap communities in those areas, and run humanitarian and development projects related to OpenStreetMap in those areas. Now, how does contributing to OpenStreetMap for humanitarian purposes work? Well, you can split contributions to OpenStreetMap for humanitarian purposes into 2 broad categories. One of them, which we're going to get engaged in today, and which is the category which most people engage with, is called remote mapping. And this is where volunteers or the wider community look very closely at satellite imagery and trace or draw on top of satellite imagery to outline things that can be seen in the imagery, therefore adding them directly to OpenStreetMap. So here is an example of drawing a building that can be seen in the satellite imagery. Other things like roads, waterways like rivers and streams, and land use like farmland or forestry, all of those things can be seen in satellite imagery. And so it can be added by people anywhere, sitting at home or sitting in a cafe looking at a screen. Okay. The other important way to contribute to OpenStreetMap is through what we call field mapping. And this is to collect information that you can't necessarily collect from satellite imagery. It's all very well adding buildings to the map or adding roads to the map, but there's much more information that can be added to those features, which is often important. What is the surface of the road? Is it just a dusty road, a dirt track, or is it an improved surface, metalled surface, maybe? You can often only get that kind of information by being on the ground. Equally, what is that building that we've mapped using satellite imagery? Is it just a house? Or is it a hospital or a school or a clinic? That extra information, whether that building is a school, hospital, clinic, often can only be found by people mapping on the ground. And so that's what field mapping is. And on the right-hand side, you can see a kind of typical mobile phone-based application for improving OpenStreetMap. Okay. Just to show the kind of extent of contributions to humanitarian mapping over the years, the flagship kind of product or tool that we're going to be using later is called the HOT Tasking Manager. It's a website that the organization we work for created over 10 years ago. Over 50% of all buildings on OpenStreetMap have been added by the OpenStreetMap community in these highlighted regions through that tool. Okay. And I would say, roughly speaking, these are probably not the latest figures, but roughly speaking, within any given month, there are about 11,000 active mappers using the tool we're going to be showing later to improve OpenStreetMap. Roughly speaking, about 11,000 people doing humanitarian mapping through the Tasking Manager. So that community is either working on kind of longer term development or planning related projects, or they're responding to disasters. Now, just to give you a sense of what some of this work looks like, most recently, this community wrapped up some mapping in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip. This took place over 5 months or so last year, and involved a number of very experienced mappers looking very closely at all the buildings in the Gaza Strip and making sure they were mapped to a high degree of accuracy on OpenStreetMap. And this came actually from a demand from several organizations which were trying to estimate the level of destruction in the Gaza Strip due to the conflict there. They needed accurate data as a baseline. They needed to know, where did the buildings exist before the conflict started? Before they came to us, they were using low quality AI-derived building footprints, very low quality, lots of issues, lots of buildings which were not well mapped by AI. They asked us to improve that, and so we got our community, particularly the very advanced mappers, small core group of mappers, to carefully map all the building outlines in Gaza using high quality or the best quality satellite imagery that was available. This was completed over about 5 months. And once the data was available, it was immediately available, but these footprints started being used. That data started being used. So this started being used to estimate the cost of damage. A big report by World Bank and United Nations earlier last year did that. And also more recently by organizations such as Forensic Architecture, who do very detailed studies into destruction and damage worldwide. And they were looking at damage and destruction of critical infrastructure in Gaza and used the building footprints as an input. Finally, one more example, a bit older, but the massive earthquakes in Turkey and Syria that occurred in early 2023, huge coordinated mapping effort from a much broader section of our community. Thousands of volunteers got involved, about 9,000 volunteers got involved to map buildings, highways across this affected region. They mapped over 2 million buildings over a couple months. And we got quite quickly feedback from people who were using the data. Feedback from surgeons working in Turkey telling us that they were using the newly updated data. And this had real world impact. That's actually it for my slides. I might just show you quickly OpenStreetMap first by just sharing my screen. And then also I'm going to show you the tool that you're going to be using very quickly to explain why it's different to OpenStreetMap directly. So this is OpenStreetMap. You can jump to OpenStreetMap if you like. This is actually just one view of OpenStreetMap. As I mentioned, OpenStreetMap is actually best understood as a database. Just post the link to OpenStreetMap. But this is the most widely visited slippy global map of OpenStreetMap. And you can zoom into it. It's going to show you OpenStreetMap up to date. And if you start zooming in, I recommend you to zoom into, if you're following me along, zoom into where you live, check it out. You may notice that it's well mapped. You may notice that things are missing, like this settlement in northern Somalia. Lots of roads seem to be mapped, but not that many buildings seem to be mapped. So probably this area could be improved a lot. Okay, I can see lots of interesting features which have been mapped, fuel stops, banks, etc., etc. If I wanted to directly edit this after I've logged in, it's actually super straightforward to do that. I can just select edit, and it's going to open up an editor. Okay, and it will allow me to directly edit the data in OpenStreetMap. It's a bit like just pressing edit on a Wikipedia page. Super straightforward, right? I could just start drawing buildings, for example, here. Now, if lots of people are doing that all at once in a similar kind of area, can anyone foresee any issues with that kind of activity? The problem with doing that, the problem with having lots of people editing OpenStreetMap directly like this at the same time in the same kind of area is that people are going to start mapping over each other and causing what are known as conflicts. And also people aren't going to know where the other people are mapping. There's no kind of coordination, right? There's no way to know where other people are mapping while I'm mapping here. So that's where the tool you're going to be learning about today comes in, Tasking Manager. Share a link to this. This is the kind of the flagship product. I was talking about the flagship website of our organization. This is primarily used to coordinate contributions to OpenStreetMap, and that's really important in humanitarian context, of course, because often in a humanitarian response, you're going to have lots of people mapping at the same time in the same kind of area. Okay, so this platform allows areas to be split up, areas of OpenStreetMap to be split up into projects. And projects allow areas to be split up into even smaller subunits called tasks. And tasks can then be worked on by individual volunteers. And that means that lots of people can map the same kind of area at the same time without having to worry about duplication. And this is the tool you're going to be hearing about using via Ralph, my colleague, who I think I'm handing over to directly, unless I'm back to you, Letman. But yeah, thanks very much and enjoy this session. You're going to be learning how to map some MSF projects. The Tasking Manager doesn't just contain projects from my organization, from HOT. It contains projects from loads of OpenStreetMap communities and loads of nonprofit organizations, loads of NGOs that are working across the world, including MSF. And that's what you're going to be working on today. Okay, thanks very much, everyone, and enjoy. Happy to answer any questions in the chat.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you for the breakdown of what in the events. If you have any questions, feel free to comment in the chat. Sam, Angie, and everyone who is speaking will be very happy to respond to your questions. You can also go off mute if you are comfortable. But for now, we're going to go into the hands-on demo on mapping and contributing to the Tasking Manager. As Sam mentioned, we are going to have, let's see how many, 29. Okay, quickly. We're going to have Ralph take us through that session. And yeah, fun. Feel free to follow as you lead. Just try to see what you can do when you develop questions and know that you can contribute. Ralph, over to you. You are on mute. Still on mute.
It might be that the host, earlier it said that the host permission to unmute was locked for me, so it might be that, yeah.
Okay, right. I can now unmute. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sam. Right. Hello, everyone. My name's Ralph Ayton. I am employed with HOT. I have been a cartographer all my life, so I have been drawing maps ever since I started working. Right. So let's just see if I can share my screen. Sharing is not turned on. Letwin, can you give me co-host ability so I can share my screen?
Pages.
Okay, while we are waiting for permission to share, right. OpenStreetMap is an interesting new crowdsourcing. Well, not new, it's been around a long time, but crowdsourcing. So what we have is a map which is not survey accurate, but certainly accurate enough for most people to be able to do their jobs effectively and efficiently. Now, depending on the case that you're using, you should be either happy to use OpenStreetMap or careful in using OpenStreetMap. If you are using it for legal position of boundaries and that sort of thing, please, OpenStreetMap is not the one for you. The position of everything is not fixed by unmovable coordinates. Anyone can move a building, can move a boundary, can move a river, and that is why I say you cannot use it for legal purposes, so for setting boundaries and things like that, that you still need to plot accurately offline. Right, let's just see. Yeah, I've got the ability to share, and hopefully we will be able to see my screen.
Yeah, got it.
Got it. Right, lovely. Okay, folks. Got that, and let's just see. What I've got open here is, as Sam told you, is OpenStreetMap. The link is in the chat, so just scroll through and get the link. The first point is that while OpenStreetMap you can view quite happily, you can search it, you can find routes, you can do all of that just straight off. But if you want to do any mapping, you need to sign in. So in other words, you have to register on OpenStreetMap. And that you do at the top right-hand corner, where you will be able to log in, log out, or sign in. It's a minimal sign in. It's just your email, a username, and your own set password. Please make a note of those three, because you will be regularly asked to repeat sign in just to make sure it is you and you can use it. So no mapping unless you are signed in. So please, that's the first thing you need to do. Now, there's two ways for you to be able to map on OpenStreetMap. And the one is using, there's two editors. There's the ID editor, which is a basic editor which is built into OpenStreetMap. But the problem with that is you need to have an open internet connection or satellite connection to be able to use it, because it is built into OpenStreetMap. The other is called JOSM, which is a downloadable editor, which can work offline and is more akin to GIS platforms, where you have different plugins, map paint styles, and a whole lot of other tools available to help you with your mapping. So JOSM, Java OpenStreetMap Editor, is a far more advanced item than the ID Editor, but for starting, ID Editor is great. Right, so how do we first get started? We have to zoom in until this next to the OpenStreetMap is a little thing called Edit, and that gives you the chance to either edit with ID Editor or to edit with the remote control JOSM, Potlatch, or Mercator. Now, those are three editors that can be used on OpenStreetMap. Now, we're going to go with ID Editor. And the second way of getting ID Editor is through the Tasking Manager. There is a built-in tasking ID Editor in the Tasking Manager, so it will work directly from the Tasking Manager. We are going to have a look let's just show here that if I click on the ID editor, my screen immediately changes and the ID editor opens up. Now you can't see anything until you zoom in. And as you zoom in, any features that are drawn will start to appear. Okay, but you have to be careful because the ID editor limits what you can see. So if there is more than 100 features on the map, it will hide some of them. This is because a lot of people who do their mapping have got a very low bandwidth and can't handle the volume. So for those low-powered computers, we have limited what you view, and you have to zoom in to be able to see all of those. Now, if there are any hidden items, it will be down at the bottom right-hand side. There will be a blue badge or indicator. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, you can see down on the bottom now, there's 567 hidden features here alone. You can see it's a very, very dense built-up area. But the result is that not everything is being shown. You can see that roads are being shown, but there's no buildings. So if I zoom in now, I get closer. Start getting some buildings, but not all buildings. So let's zoom in more. And now there are no hidden features, as you can see down in the bottom right, and you're seeing all the buildings that have been drawn. And you can see them here, buildings that have been drawn and buildings that haven't been drawn. So there are a lot of buildings there that still need to be added. So that gives you an example of using the ID editor from the OpenStreetMap. Now, the Hot Tasking Manager was the other item for accessing ID Editor. And this, as Sam mentioned, is the ideal way if you have a project and you want a lot of people mapping in an area at the same time. So it divides it up into projects, and it divides it up into small task squares. Now we will be using the Tasking Manager. You can see here, you sign in with your OpenStreetMap account into the Tasking Manager as well. The Tasking Manager is created and maintained by HOT, the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, which is a part of the overall OpenStreetMap community. And it's all, they're marked as urgent and high. Depending on urgent ones are generally disaster related and are really urgent. In other words, to save lives, we need to get good mapping out to the first responders in the field within the first 7 days. After that, the chances of rescuing people alive diminishes very quickly. So you can see why it's marked urgent. Right. We have got another item, which is called Map Features. Let's just put that into the chat. Right, Map Features gives you a list of all the tags that will be used on OpenStreetMap. It is very user-friendly. Each one of those is a link. So we are going to be doing buildings. So if I have a look at buildings, it takes me to a wiki page, which gives me all of the buildings, building, apartment, barracks, bungalows, cabins, detached building, annex building, dormitories. So you can see it's got an entire list of buildings. Each one of these is editable, and you can see there's little pictures on the right-hand side, which give us some idea of what each one is about. If we go to building, the key building, right, it takes you to a page which describes what is mapped there, how to map it, and the different usages. So that is the usage. And if you go to the value, all tags are two-pronged. Key equals value. So let's just look at apartments, and you go to a wiki page that gives you apartments. So please, folks, map features is where you need to go for understanding all your tagging, and it is searchable on online. Okay, map features. Right, now let's move on. On YouTube, if you join up with Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, subscribe to the team, and there's loads of videos and training videos. There's community webinars. If you have a look at the webinars, they're all training material, so that you could look and learn whatever you want with Kobo toolkits and other things. There's also training webinars for things like drawing buildings, advanced buildings, how to use JOSM, how to switch to JOSM. So all of those are there. Sorry, excuse me. Right, so go to YouTube, go to Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, and you'll find a lot of information and useful tools there. Now, we have 3 projects which we are going to be looking at. Two are in India and 1 is in Malawi. So let me take you to one of those, and let's just see. When you get in there, you have got instructions. Please read the instructions. The instructions will tell you what imagery you're supposed to be using. If there is a misalignment, it tells you what you need to do about the misalignment. It will tell you whether you need to move the background imagery to map to match existing features, or you can move the existing features to match the imagery. Now, the imagery is changing all the time, so it's not fixed. It's auto-corrected. So it is not accurate imagery, but we use it as accurate as possible for our purposes. It is, as we would say, good enough for the people in the field to be able to do their job. And that is what we do. A really good map is one where everything is in alignment with each other. So the buildings, the roads, the waterways are all in alignment with each other and at approximately the same scale. That is a good map. So let's move on. Right, so we're going to go and having read about all of this, I want you to map buildings. So we are going to go, and you can see down types of mapping down at the bottom here on the left. It shows a little building symbol. There are waterways, there are highways, there are land features, there are points of interest. So there are all different types of mapping that you can be done. But let's go now to the map a task. So here you go, and for beginners, you will see that this has been divided up into a whole lot of task squares. Now, this has been separated out to make mapping easy. It's gone through what's called a map swipe process to select areas that actually look like there is buildings there that need mapping. So that's done for you. Now, what you need to do is you need to map on the white squares. So these task squares that are white are ones that's strange. I didn't know I had selected one. Okay, so here you can see these are white. The blue ones have been completely mapped. Please do not open blue ones because they are waiting for the validators a team of specialized experts in checking the work to go in and check that everything is okay and correct. If it's a green square, then it has been checked. Please do not try to open green squares. You won't be able to. Right, you select a square. When you select a square, it gets a red little lock feature. Now, the red lock feature shows that you have locked that task for mapping, and no one else will be able to open that while you have it open. Now, you have a clock up in the right-hand panel, which tells you you have 2 hours to be able to complete this. Now, that is at the end of 2 hours, it will automatically unlock it. The reason for this is some people get distracted. Someone knocks on the door, they go downstairs, and they leave the task square open. They're off doing something else, and 4 hours later, the task would still be locked, so no one else can work on it. This can happen that it stays locked for days on end. So after 2 hours, it automatically unlocks. So please be aware of that, and please make sure that you close a task before you go away. Now, how do you close a task? The first way is to click on, if you have completely mapped everything and you are happy that it's all correct, you can click on yes and submit the task. That way, the white square will turn blue, ready for the validators to be able to check your work. If you have not mapped everything, but you have to go away or you can't finish it, you haven't got time, please click on no. Now, no means that it will go back to being a white square and someone else can select it and finish the mapping. And then click the submit task. Now, if you open up a task and you think, uh-oh, this is a bit too difficult for me, I don't want to try doing this, the thing that you need to do is to select another task. So you click on select another task and it will take you out of that and go back to all open again. Now, if there are other people working on other tasks, there will be a little black lock showing that they are working on that. Let's just go back in again now that we've gone through that. Okay, so map selected task. Now here is where you have to be careful. You have to have the ID editor because it will open in your selected editor. So go up to your settings, and in your settings, scroll down, and it says your default editor. Now, you set your default editor to the editor you will be using. And in this case, we're using the ID editor. So I want, whenever I open up a project, I want it to open up in the ID editor and not in the JOSM editor. So I marked that as ID editor. I can now go back here, and when I click on a task to map selected task, I will get the ID editor, which is now my editor down the bottom here. So just make sure that you go into your settings and you check that you are ID editor. Now, let's go into the ID editor. I click map selected task, and immediately on the same window, it will take me to the ID editor. Right. Now, what it will do is it will open it up with the imagery that the project creator has selected as the correct background imagery. So don't do anything about that. It should be in the correct. Now you've got a magenta pink square around here. That is the boundaries of your task. If you're mapping a road, then just map slightly outside your task. The reason for that is so that the person in the task square alongside you can see, there's a road coming through here, I must complete that road. Right, so we are going to be drawing buildings. Now, I can see that some of the buildings have already been drawn, so I have to be careful. I check there is no blue tab down the bottom, so I'm seeing all the buildings. Now I'm seeing some buildings that have not been drawn. Okay, right. Drawing requires 3. A point, which is something like a telephone pole or a lamppost or a post box, is a single point. A line is for drawing waterways and for drawing rivers, waterways, highways, so roads. That's what the line tool is for. The area tool is for drawing polygons of areas. So it might be an amenity like a whole school area, and with the buildings inside and the parking and the playgrounds, that is an amenity area. It is also used for drawing buildings. Now let me zoom in. We're looking at a view which most of us are not really familiar with, and that is the roof of the building from above. Looking at the roof, most of buildings will be squared corners or round huts. We must bear that in mind. So our setting is ready for us, and we are going to start drawing. Here we go. Using the area tool, that is either shortcut key, press 3 on your keyboard, and then you have the crosshairs. You select one corner. Let me zoom in. This is the building. I can see the shadow. It is got a center ridge, and the light is shining on one side, the shadow on the other side, and you can see it's got 2 sort of gable type points. So that is a roof shape. You can Google roof shapes and have a look at the different styles of roofs that you will see from above and familiarize yourself with that. It'll help you to understand better the shadowing of a roof. So I take the furthest corner, I click on that. I click on the next corner, I take it across, I click on the 3rd corner, I take it down, and to end off, I double click on the last corner. Now this opens up this, and it says on here building. Now if you go to the map features, you'll see that you get different types of buildings. The default that we use is building equals yes. Now ID Editor has a number of presets, so you can use presets here. So I say building, and I want it as building yes, so I click building yes. Now you can see here it says building yes. That is the tag that I want. If you want to see what tags are on the building, you go down to the bottom on the left panel and scroll down, and you'll see it says building yes. Okay, now I've got that set as building, so I can building yes. Now the last stage is to square the corners of the building. It is not squared. I can, if I select the building and I right click, I get a number of tools that I can use. That's right click on the boundary. I can either circularize it, in other words, turn it into a round. I can move this feature to a different location as it is. I can square it. Now each of these you can see has got a shortcut key. So squaring the building is shortcut Q on your keyboard, right? There are others. You can flip it, you can rotate it, you can copy it, or you can delete it. Now, if you have a whole lot of buildings that are the same shape and the same orientation, you can copy and paste. Like round buildings. Round buildings, you don't need to concern yourself about rotating it, because a round building doesn't have any corners, so that's not a problem. So as I said, you can either right click and square the building, or you can select the outline and press Q on your keyboard, and that will square it as well. Now that is the basic outline of a building. Now not all buildings are exactly square. Let's just see. If I can give you one here. that I can show you. Here is an odd-shaped building, right? So I'm going to just show you here. I'm going to press 3 on my keyboard so that I get my area tool, and I can draw along here. And I get this shape. Now I want this shape to be even, so I can grab a node and I can select that node and I can adjust it and I can make that a building. So I want to select this. Right, there we are. Area, feature type. Building equals yes. So I can type in the tags and get a building as well. Okay. And that is a building. Let's just get rid of the background. And there we have that odd shaped building. You do not square this because that's not the case. Now, that doesn't look like a building, does it? So let's take a closer look at what we have here. So I'm going to move this. So I move, right? I can move it out the way. Now I'm going to zoom in. Now what I can see is, let's just do the area tool again. I can then look at the roof and I can see there is the roof. That is the roof shape and that is the side of the building. So in other words, this is a side view of the building because I can see the wall here. That means that this is distorted. So this is incorrect. So I'm going to delete that and I'm going to show you what should be drawn. So I once again press 3 on my keyboard and I draw what the roof should look like. And Q on my, select that as a building. Building, yes, and select the outline, press Q on my keyboard, and it's squared up. Now that's what that should look like, okay? Because of the offset, it makes the roof look unusual. So please be careful of that, and please watch for it. You can also draw different shaped buildings, which are squared. Here we go. Once again, I press 3 on my keyboard and I have got this building here, which select building yes and press Q on my keyboard and there it is, an L-shaped building. You can do quite a lot of buildings like this. Now, what happens is up here on the top, you have got a number of features and you can actually make your screen larger simply by closing the side panels, right? And you can see that it gets larger and you can open the side panels. So you can open up a larger area for mapping. And up here, you have the undo button. So if you've made a mistake, just undo it and try again. Don't panic and say, ah. So your undo button, or as we can use the well-known delete, which is Control Z, which means that the last move you've made can be undone. So please don't panic if you think you've done something wrong. It can be undone. Right, now here, you've got a count of how many features you've created. Please do not let this get above 10. If you are mapping on a project, there are other people around you also mapping. You don't want to create 100 buildings and then find out that it crashes when you try to save it because there's too many people trying to download at the same time. So please limit that to 10, something under 10. And when you are finished, I don't want some of these to be on So let me undo what I've done. Right, that one has been drawn, so I'm not worried about. So I'm going to save that one. So I click on save, right? And it brings up here a Hot OSM project 17251. Now this is a change set comment. Please do not change that comment or delete it. What you can add to that is that what you did. So you can add to it, say, added a building, or added buildings, or amended a building, changed a building, to just let them know what you did when you were doing that. Now, the source is not that important. It will automatically do that. The hashtags are there. Don't worry about that. That's automatically filled in. If you are new to mapping and you want someone to check your mapping because you're not sure that you've done the right thing, you can click on there. I would like someone to review my edits. Now, for the first 10 or 12 times that you are mapping, please click that. If you are comfortable with your mapping and you've had feedback to say, it's great, you're doing the right thing, don't over worry about that. The validation takes place all the time on all of the blue tasks. So that will happen. Right, so now, once you've done all of that, you click on upload, and that will put uploading changes to OpenStreetMap. And thank you for improving the map around Lungli, India. Your change should appear on OpenStreetMap within minutes. Now, here's the catch. You have to understand that everything that you put on OpenStreetMap is open to everyone to use. So if you're doing any research work or sensitive work, please do not put it, save it onto OpenStreetMap, save it off OpenStreetMap. Do not add your own research work until you have published and you are happy for others to see it. Do not add that to OpenStreetMap. It is open for everyone to use. Okay, so that is very important for you to understand. The other thing is, do not copy from anyone else's maps. Maps are copyrighted. OpenStreetMap has got an open copyright for everyone to use. Please, you can't use Google, you can't use Microsoft Maps, you can't use any of those. Only map what is given to you through the imagery on OpenStreetMap. Please remember that, and happy mapping. Back to you, Letwin.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for the presentation. So I'm having a couple of questions coming to my DM, unfortunately. So I've shared some of them with Sam. So the other question that I was about to post was, let me just send it. Oh, where did it go? Okay, it was saying, do we keep in touch with you or your team or your organization for more information? That is to you, Ralph, and Sam. And then the other one was, what qualifies someone as a validator? Yeah, those two. Okay, I see Sam has answered join hot Slack. Thank you. And then qualification, what qualifies someone as a validator? Maybe Ralph, you want to talk about that?
Okay, yes. A validator is a person who has been mapping for some time and has logged up a large number of edits in buildings, waterways, highways, places of interest. Now, what happens is once we note that they've reached the required number of edits, we then actually vet them. So we do an assessment. We have a look at, do they understand the mapping? Do they understand the overall picture? Do they understand what a building is and why it looks the way it does and why it is tagged the way it does? Do they understand how what a waterway is? How does it interact with highways? So when it crosses a highway and a waterway cross each other, how do you depict that? Do you show a bridge, a culvert? Do you show a ford? So there's different ways of showing that. So this is understanding. A validator understands the work. And if they see that a mapper is doing something wrong, they will send a comment to that mapper explaining to them how to correct what they're doing so that their mapping will improve for the future. It also makes sure that everything conforms to the standards of OpenStreetMap, because without us conforming to those standards, it won't render on the map and it won't be seen as a feature and it won't be searchable. So we do have to do that. So the validator is someone who understands the map a lot more than just the mapper mapping buildings. Okay, back to you, Letwin.
So much for the clarity, Ralph. So I know everybody is wondering, okay, then after we add all that and we upload all the data, then what? What's the next step? What are we going to do with that? Or what is HOT going to do with the data? So now we're going to dive into the use cases that we're going to have from OSM Uganda, which is one of our communities within Africa, which is very vibrant. After OSM Uganda, we're going to hear from Open Map Development in Tanzania. They are some of the organizations that are using this data that you're contributing to directly on Water Scheme Manager. They've used it in various cases, but today they'll share with us how they're using it and how it has been helping communities around them. So we're going to hear from Alan Babani, who is the CEO of OSM Uganda. Over to you, Alan.
Okay, hi everyone. Just to check, can you hear me clearly? And can you see the screen?
Yeah, both perfect.
Okay. All right, I'm so glad to be part of this session today, and I'm going to be sharing about how we have been using this data, and also briefly talk about how we have created it as well, and talk about a few things. So So I'm going to talk about what OpenStreetMap is, just to supplement on what has already been said. And then we are going to dive into the applications. And then I'll also talk about our sustainability, how we are sustaining the community, and probably how it can be done. So just to add on what has been talked about around OpenStreetMap, it's a bigger project. And much of the work, like you have seen, such as creating the buildings, roads, waterway, land cover, administrative areas, among others, they are being utilized as best maps to support different innovations and applications. And for Uganda's case, we normally look at a community one that is under Youth Mappers, which is a club that is found on like it's universities, and majorly they come together and support on mapping at different moments. Then we have volunteers who normally go on the ground, but as well also support on the remote mapping. And then we have the professionals who are employed to do the mapping at different levels. Now, who are the users of this data? We have governments. Mostly are going to look at Ministry of Health, they're going to look at Ministry of urbanization and probably land management, among different government entities. Then you're also going to look at humanitarian responders. Majorly, they are going to be more of NGOs that are responding to disasters, such as the Red Cross, the Red Crescent, and among others. Then we have the academia. So in the academia, as some of you have seen before, that most of the academia research is being done using geospatial data, which is quite expensive. But with the availability of OpenStreetMap, you can be able to support your research. Personally, I did my undergrad research using OpenStreetMap, And it quite made my life easy because being a student at the time, I didn't have enough resources to be able to collect all that data. So just depending on what was already created. Then we have the private sector, whereby we're having quite a number of businesses and organizations that are using OpenStreetMap data to be able to narrow down to areas where they want to do investments, areas where they want to probably learn about, probably to see what business opportunities could be there. So all that is being utilized with OpenStreetMap. Now, coming into OpenStreetMap Uganda, which was founded in 2012 as a smaller group of people who would come together on a given day. At the time, they used to call themselves Mapping Day. So they would just situate a day and they dedicated just to mapping, and they would come together and map. After a couple of years, they resorted to registering it as an NGO in 2017. And the mission is to contributing open data sets, providing opportunities to the youth. I think I'm testament enough because I'm one of the youth and leading the organization at the moment. And the team that I work with, all of them are youth. And also we have a couple of interns, we have a couple of volunteers, and all of them fall into that bracket. Promoting community mapping. Now this one, we do it in quite different ways. We have mapathons, we have specific events that probably are curated to different organizations, but also whenever we have a project in a given area of the country, we try to make sure that 80% of that team that will work in that given part of the country are locals of that community. And with that, we look at extending the skill sets, because we do believe at the moment we're not the only ones who need this type of skill set or this type of data. So when we keep training new people in different areas of the country, it helps us to be able to create GIS awareness and also open data awareness so that people can know more about it. Currently, we have over 5,000 mappers and volunteers, and we've had over 30 projects, both in humanitarian and open data usage. So to learn more about us, you check us on our website, and you can be able to learn more of or in detail for some of the projects that I'm going to be hitting on. So what are some of the use cases that we've been able to utilize using OpenStreetMap and open data tools? Under academia, yes.
Your slides are not moving.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, can you see my slides now? And are they changing?
Yes. We're on use cases.
Okay. All right, so under use cases, just like that. So under use cases, the category of academia, we've been able to use OpenStreetMap, that is open source tools, under one of the projects which was dubbed as Stop Spillover. Now, under the Stop Spillover project, we were looking at understanding the interface between bats within the nearby forests, that is in Western Uganda, neighboring Congo, and we're able to map the area in terms of adding more features. Because OpenStreetMap have already done the mapping in terms of buildings, roads, and all that. But now on ground, we're trying to understand how are the bats moving, and the community telling us, okay, in this building, there are bats here, there are no bats in these trees that attract bats, something like that. So we use that to be able to support a USAID project, which was called Stop Spillover, and they were able to more beyond what we had provided from them, because majorly they needed to understand the locations and how the bats are moving and from where and to where. And we used the OpenStreetMap as well as other open source tools to be able to achieve that. Then we also did crop mapping for GeoGlam, and GeoGlam is more of a software that is being used majorly by Earth observations projects, majorly to be able to understand. So at that moment, we're trying to train AI models to be able to learn how to support the mapping in terms of understanding that this type of crop looks like this. These are the features you're supposed to look for. So all this we're using open source tools. Then we also did a trust toolkit for national statistics. Now this one majorly was trying to understand how data collection is done, how research is done, and if you use open source tools, how is the community perceiving it? Because sometimes people feel like something which is so open is not so authentic, but when they get to understand the levels that have been put there to create that authenticity of this data, they get to appreciate it and they're able to use it. So this one was majorly a collaboration between Makerere University as well as the government of Uganda and the EU. And then looking at disaster response and preparedness, we've used OpenStreetMap to be able to carry out mapping for Ebola response. Some of you have heard of the Ebola pandemic, which normally comes in, sometimes goes, comes in, goes, but it's rumored to be originating from the forests of Congo, and probably it has been affecting some parts of the country. And a few months ago, we had an issue by the way around Ebola in Kampala, whereby I think this one was originating from South Sudan. So we did mapping to show them the different areas that are prone to the issue, as well as coming up with different interactive maps that are helping the Ministry of Health to be able to do what we call contact tracing, because if someone has been in contact with someone with Ebola, they have to go and check them and all that and be able to make sure that they are okay, to be able to reduce on the spread. Then we've done some mapping still around malnutrition response activities. Now, whenever disasters happen, you're going to realize that people normally come up with certain figures and be like, say 1,000 people have been affected, but that is too much of a block number, and it's on rare occasions for us to have such block numbers of people being affected. So when you bring in GIS and OpenStreetMap and other tools that you put together, you're able to zero down and be able to give what we may call a rough estimate that's very, very close to what actually is happening there. So from this data from OpenStreetMap, we're able to look at a given radius, look at the number of buildings, and then from the national statistics, we're able to say that, okay, each household is probably on average supposed to have probably 5 people. And when you do the math, you're able to understand that, okay, this disaster has happened and it has affected this number of households. And then when you do the math, you're able now to come up with a figure that at least can be able to guide, most cases, the Office of the Prime Minister to be able to provide relief to these people. So the same happened with the project we did with the Soro district. So for these ones, they are next to one of the big mountains. So whenever there are flash floods, they get issues of the mud coming down and covering a number of households, and sometimes it happens in the night. So some people lose their lives without them actually knowing what is going on. So same method is to look at OpenStreetMap data, check the gaps. If there are gaps, we do some remote mapping, and after doing remote mapping, we go on ground, do some drone imagery, and then be able to compare what we mapped and what is happening at that moment, and be able to determine the actual effect that has happened in that area, and be able to support the different agencies that are responding at that moment. Then we also have projects under community development. One of them is estimating of electricity demand in the temperature sector. So there was an issue that the Ministry of Energy would provide the different types of electricity in different parts of the country. But the challenge was that you want to give someone electricity that they can be able to utilize, say, for manufacturing, probably setting up factories to add value to the agriculture products. But the challenge was that it was at first was being done politically, being that if the member of parliament is from your area, you're able to get electricity quickly. If you don't have any representation in parliament, you may have to, you don't actually have nothing to do. You just have to wait until the government thinks about you and provides electricity. But now the challenge was they are providing domestic phases to areas whereby it's not needed, and then in some areas whereby you need to have probably a commercial that can be able to handle manufacturing, they're not able to get the right one. So for this project, we're able to show them the different regions and the different areas and how they would be able to work with that. Then we looked at mapping tourism ecosystems. Now for these ones, tourism normally happens a lot, but in most cases it's not well documented. And the documentation now is beyond just telling me that, okay, when you go to this place, you're going to find this, this, and this. Sometimes we need to see something on the map to be able to understand. And when you pay attention now, most tourists rarely, I could say rarely, but they still do use tour guides. Some cases, people just have to, go to their phone, they go to the map, they try to see, is there anything happening in this area? Yes, it's there. Can I be able to get different amenities when I go to this area? So to help them be able to plan their entire itinerary, maps can come in here. So currently, we've been able to improve the OpenStreetMap part of Uganda to make sure that it can be utilized with this. And also we are having the government agency using OpenStreetMap on their website to be able to support those who are looking for places to tour in Uganda. Then also we've used OpenStreetMap to support domestic revenue mobilization for development. Now this one, the project was around mapping different buildings, their attributes, and also to be able to support the revenue bodies to understand how are they going to be able to tax these buildings. So for those that were commercial, they were tagging them some amount of money. Initially, you'd find that someone is being charged more than what they're supposed to be charged, but using OpenStreetMap data, using GIS, we're able to narrow it down for them, develop for them a platform that even they use to be able to follow up in case they need to follow up in a given area. Now, we also have to look at career development. Now, under career development, we have OpenStreetMap in Schools program, whereby we do a lot of programs in schools, such as introducing OpenStreetMap to schools from secondary level. And then we also do drones in schools, trying to introduce the students early enough to be able to understand some of these technologies so that the community that we're in does not diminish at the end when we stop probably providing some of the services as us. Because me personally and a couple of friends, we got to learn about OpenStreetMap in almost our final year of university, and want to be able to cover that gap, because the moment an active, let me call it a cohort, leaves a university, you'll find that in that university you will not find anyone anyone doing anything around OpenStreetMap. So it will take again a lot of resources to rebuild that. So with career guidance through our OpenStreetMap Schools program, we're able to provide this. Then we normally provide internships and graduate training, whereby we have students come in for internships. We also have those ones that have graduated to come in and start their journey. And we've had a couple of them now who are being employed in bigger organizations such as GIZ in Uganda. And they're able now to, keep preaching the open data and OpenStreetMap usage. Then we also normally do institutional capacity growth. Now here we normally go to different institutions. Some request, some will reach out to them. Here I'm trying to just give us a pictorial view of some of the projects. Now here in the corner, here in the top left, we're mapping for drainage. We're mapping drainages to support on the flood problems in Kampala. So the team of the youth who are there trying to utilize OpenStreetMap, as well as survey equipments, probably known as RTK. And then here we're having one of our data enumerators. She was with one of the farmers trying to do some data collection around the electricity usage and the electricity needs. And then here on the top right, we're in one of the forests that is neighboring Uganda and Congo. And here we're trying to understand where the birds are coming from and all that. Then bottom left, this is now capacity growth and trying to do some work with the university students. Then here we're having an area now, this is a drone footage, whereby we're trying to assess the impact of the flooding of Lake Albert for that region. Then at the bottom right, it's one of the programs we're having. I'm going to explain it in detail further, whereby we are trying to close the digital divide using a shared access model to be able to provide computers. So we have a pool of computers which we move around to different schools to be able to provide them with these trainings. Now, all this is developed around sustainability, because if a student is able to see this at a tender age, that is, from I think it was when we started from C1, that is around 12, 13 years, up to around 18, that is for up to A level. So they're able to get exposed to this, so that by the time they get to university, much as they may not be directly into the GIS space, but at least they'll be having knowledge about how to use these maps and also how to create this data. Some of the tools that we are using QGIS, which is the open source version of some people use ArcGIS and Esri products, but majorly for us we use QGIS because it helps us to be able to do a lot of work And because of the limited resources, of course, we have, because we may not be able to afford the licenses of Esri to be able to do some other things. Then Open Data Kit, this one majorly we use it on mobile phones to be able to read the data from the field. Kobo Toolbox, this one provides us a server, which we normally use to be able to manage the field, and as well as to be able to share data between the project management team as well as the team right on ground collecting the data. We normally use UMAP to be able to do some data visualizations that are interactive and be able to share easily. Open Aerial Map, this one is where we normally upload some of our drone imagery and also be able to tap on other people who have created these drone images. So in most cases, you may not have a drone imagery of an area or even own a drone to create a drone imagery. You'll be able to check from Open Area Map and be able to tap on that. And there is another project that HOTA is working on around still the same thing. It's like more of the tasking manager, but now this one majorly it's more around use of drones. Then we've used drone smartphones. Then OpenRefine helping us in to make it easier to do data cleaning. And then the hot export tool, this one normally train using people to use it to be able to easily access the data. You know, not everyone knows how to use the coding language to be able to use Overpass. So when you show them the export tool by Hot, they're able to download data quickly so that they don't have to overwhelm you with calls of I need this type of data sets. So if in case you need a data set, all you need is just to have an account with OpenStreetMap. Then you log in and be able to do the exports. If you don't want to log in, you can just download anyone else's data set that they have been able to set up. Now, for sustainability, we have a program that is under the OpenStreetMap in Schools program, which we call Africa Digital Access Initiative. Now, with this, we are trying to create a sustainable ecosystem, like I've mentioned. When we train these students at a tender age as senior one, they're able to come into probably university when they're already aware, or whatever institution they're going to, they're able to be aware of this mapping. And also, whenever we need them to map for disaster response, these are the numbers that we're going to depend on, because at a certain time, T to come, me as Alan, I may not be able to map, because if I remember correctly, I could say 7 years ago, I would be able to map 2,000, almost 3,000 buildings in one day. But right now, I can't lie to you that I can be able to do that. Right now, I think I can do a maximum of 1,000 in a day. So as time goes on, my energies are going to drop, and we need a sustainable ecosystem so that we still have people coming in to do what we are doing currently. Now, we're using this program to cover up the digital divide. And this is majorly looking at marginalized groups that are schools in rural areas, whereby for them, they don't have access to these computers. In my first year of university, we had students who even could not click a mouse, but they had come to university and they were now doing computer engineering. So want to cover some of such gaps that these children, our students, get to be exposed quite early enough and be able to be in those positions to be able not only to do a lot of innovations, but be able to create this data set. Then looking at the gender gap, we have some of the schools that are only for girls schools. This is helping us to be able to cover the that gap of gender, because when you look at your communities or even some of the things you're doing, you're going to find that there are very few ladies into the space, or women. And what causes this majorly in most cases is that they are not being exposed to some of these things early enough, because most of them are exposed to other things, like, I'm going to become a makeup artist, I'm going to become, probably I'm going to run my boutique, I'm going to do fashion. That's the only thing they're being exposed to as the ladies. But now when they come to university, you're going to try to show them this, but their mindset is not yet there. So from their 100, you're only going to be able to convince like 20% of that number to be able to come into this. So when we expose them earlier, we at least have bigger numbers that are going to show up at a later stage to be able to do some work within the space. So also we are using this to support education. And with this, we are looking at the local curriculum. Normally they have, for example, in the geography, they normally have a session of photographic interpretation. Now, whenever they do mapping using the satellite imagery, they're helping us to be able to map this area. So when we teach them that, they're able to do the same on the other side. That is all from me. Thank you. Back to you, Latrine.
Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you for the great insights on how OSM data is being used by OpenStreetMap Uganda and the great work that you're also doing with the communities. So we're going to have our last use case from OpenMap Development Tanzania from Amo.
Thank you, Rating. I hope you can hear me all. Yeah, my name is Amuru Nyalusi. I'm working with OpenMap Development Tanzania team here based in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. So thank you for having me here to share a bit on how we've been leveraging the OSM data and tools to solve local challenges here in Tanzania. So first, let me share my screen. I hope you can be able to see my screen. If not, please let me know.
We can see your screen.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so I'll be sharing different projects that we have been working since the establishment of OpenMap Development Tanzania. But before, let me first introduce what is OpenMap Development Tanzania. So OpenMap Development Tanzania is an NGO that based in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, that works in promoting geospatial technologies across Tanzania. We have our key four areas that we have been working since our establishment. The first is in data collection, and in data collection, we more focus on community mapping. So we involve understanding the community, a key aspect in the mapping. So at every steps, we see the importance of involving communities mapping in their own areas, and also we are focusing on data collection, management, and visualization, where we are more focusing on the use of open source technologies like QGIS, OTK Central, and different open mapping technologies. And also we're more focusing on training and capacity building, where we train or we equip government, private entities, university students, and for a couple of years we have been training different institutions here in Tanzania. And lastly, we are more focusing on technology and innovation and open source technologies here by leveraging, for example, RTK and also drone technologies for high resolution, and also accurate data. So since our establishment, these are most of the of impacts that we have been able to made in OpenStreetMap and also outside the OpenStreetMap. In building, we'll be able to map a big number of building, and also a lot number of kilometers of road, and also amenities here in Tanzania. And also we've been able to capacitate different or conduct different workshops, more than 70 workshops across Tanzania and outside Tanzania, such as Rwanda and also Democratic Republic of Congo. So today, for me to be here is to be able to share what we have been using, how we have been leveraging the OSM data. So in the few seconds, I'm going to share some few examples on the different projects that we have been we've used the OSM data and the OSM tools to make different impactful solutions with different stakeholders across Tanzania. But before that, most of the use cases will be focusing on these key four areas that we are seeing right now. First, in the mapping community and services, where here this is one of the key activities that we are working directly with communities to map the important features that that are available in their surrounding, like hospitals, pharmacies, water taps, and also another key area is improving accessibility and the planning. So also here, we're also going to see some use cases on different projects, how we have been improved the accessibilities of data and also this data have been used in different planning approach in the disaster, for example, and also or in humanitarian relief. Also, another part is training and capacity
Sorry,
building. Yes.
Your slides are not moving. We are still on slide number 1.
Okay, maybe let me switch off my video just to preserve the bandwidth. What about now?
We are still on page 1.
Okay, let me share again.
Maybe put them in presentation mode. Let's see.
Okay. Okay, let me share again. Just a few seconds. Are you able to see now my screen?
Yes, we are on slide number 4, transforming communities with OSM data.
And it changed.
No, it
Okay.
didn't.
What about now?
Still there.
Okay. Okay, just a moment.
Yes, now they're moving.
Now they're moving. Okay, that's good.
Mhm.
Okay, so I was in the training capacity building. So here, by considering having more people involving in the availability of open data and also open source technologies, that's why we are also more focusing on our project, focusing on the capacitate different youth, different institutions, private sectors, individuals. So, and also last part is data-driven innovation, where here most here we've been leveraging the drone together with OpenStreetMap data to improve the accessibility of data and also availability of data in the OpenStreetMap. So diving into the different use cases. I hope right now you are seeing another screen, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. So the first use case that we've been working for a couple of years in solid waste management. We have been having different projects with the World Bank here in Tanzania, where we the focus on to conduct the baseline study on the different areas in Dar es Salaam and also another region outside Dar es Salaam. And the focus here is to study the perception of the communities in waste handling and also to study the level of the waste services that is available in the communities. So the OpenStreetMap data has been very useful in ensuring that we move along with our initiative. For example, as you are seeing, for example, in my screen, this is a building data set that has been generated for us to be able to visit these communities and also to conduct the baseline study on the perception on the how do they handle their wastes, and also how do they think about their different waste service provider that they are receiving in their neighborhood. Apart from the building, also, for example, this is a loaded data set that has been derived from the OpenStreetMap, where also this has been very useful in the surveying to generate the litter availability in different streets in different areas. So it has been very impactful on generating the data set that has been useful to be able to understand that the real situation on the solid waste management handling in Dar es Salaam and also in another region. And all of these data sets have been helpful to start. And what we were looking for is to have was one of the output that we were supposed to come up with to be able to know where most of the communities that are using informal waste collection are. And you know, Dar es Salaam is one of the cities that is heavily affected with wastes, mostly in the drains, in the rivers that are passing through the city. Most of the rivers are filled with wastes. So if, for example, even in this map, most of these areas are the areas that are available in most of the rivers and also most of the drains. Apart from that, also also the OSM that has been very useful in routine analysis. For this, we've been able to work with also with the World Bank to share with them how much the truck, for example, can use from the household to the landfill. And for example, in Dar es Salaam, previously we used to have only one landfill across the whole city. So the trucks, when they are passing to the household, they collect the wastes, then they can all of them they take to the one landfill. So some of the neighborhoods are very far from the landfill. So by leveraging OSM data has been very impactful to show where are these areas that are very far from the landfill are. So maybe they can also do some. And right now, as I'm talking to you, right now there is another landfill that has been used, and that landfill is available in this part where most of this part have been affected because they are very far from the landfill. And also, apart from the solid waste management, and also this is another also example of the routing and the analysis of the distance from the communities to the treatment plant of the fecal sludge. This also is another useful cases that we this is a project that we did with an institution called Border Tanzania. They wanted to see how many communities they are not being accessible with the tricycle or trucks when they are receiving the services of the fecal sludge treatment. So there are different trucks that are moving around collecting the sewer waste from the neighborhoods, but some of the area are not accessible. So in these areas, you can imagine how do they handle when the sewer, for example, is full, because you cannot access with the truck, or cannot access even with the tricycle that is very small, but you cannot access. There are so many buildings, as you can see, for example, in this map. Another also important aspect is anti-spatial action in Dar es Salaam. This is one of the projects that is still ongoing. In Dar es Salaam, there is it's an agency that involving all different agents that are working in disaster response and rescue. So all of the agents, right now they are in one umbrella, which is called DARMAT in short, but the Dar es Salaam Agency Response Team. So previously during Lamanhuria project, that is a famous project which was through humanitarian operation team. This team had been given a hard copy atlas that has a different data set from OpenStreetMap across the whole Dar es Salaam. But during this this project, like now, we decided to transform all of the data set that are available in the hard copy atlas into the interactive dashboard. And also the good thing, right? For themselves, right now they are conducting different data set when they are going to respond to the different incidents. For example, if it's the fire, if it's the accident, they are also collecting some data sets. So within this dashboard that we have creating for them, they can be able to integrate the data that they are being collected right now with the OSM data that are available. So this is one of the, as I said, it's one of the projects that is still ongoing as I'm speaking. To you like now. So I guess I had a few minutes. So so another part also, another key use case is from the we had a project that was nationwide. So we had to move in every village here in Tanzania. So this is raw data that is from OpenStreetMap that we're being able to utilize in the understanding how we can reach, how we can travel in all these villages. You can see Tanzania is among the huge country in Africa. So this data has been very impactful on how we can budget, on how we can move around the whole nation to make the impact, just like you are seeing right now in the screen, to visit all the schools in Tanzania and to have this data set and hand it over to the government. They can be used for different aspects. So thank you. That was my time. So over to you, Letty.
Thank you so much, Amo, for the insightful presentations and insights on OMDTZ. So those were two use cases that we had today, like two organizations who were sharing with us how they're utilizing OSM data that we're contributing to, whether through directly on OSM or through the tasking manager. This is how some of the data is being used. Many other use cases that you can think of that are also being applied by different organizations worldwide. Some we mentioned during earlier presentations, like the earthquakes, the hurricanes and stuff. So this brings us to the end of our program. Before we close, I would like to check if we still have any other questions from the floor. If we have any other questions, before we close, I'll give this 2 straight minutes. By the way, Ralph, and saying Angela wants to be a validator straight away. She doesn't want to map. She just wants to be a validator right now. That's all. Do we have any other questions? If not, thank you so much for attending this event on insights on HOT and OSM and everything that has been shared today. If we are comfortable, I would love us to share our videos so that we have a group photo before we leave. If you're comfortable, let's have your video on. Let's see your face. Let's see thy face. Thanks, Alan. Don't be too serious. Yes, you get a smile. Thanks, dear. Inji. Okay. I am going to take the group. So we are going to smile. Thanks, Avalil. I'm going to take the group photo. So keep smiling. In 3, 2, 1, 5. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending the session. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Amo. Thank you, Alan. And please have the great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Ralph.